All right, Shalom, Laha, Alahayim, peace to the gods, Nawathan, Kal, Halalyamla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash, giving all praises to Yahweh, in the name Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit, double honors to the elder apostles, elder bishops, and the head elders of all the camps of Great Millstone GMS who do rule well, who I've learned this 100% truth from, who are the true leaders of all Israel today. Israel are the true Israelites, are the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans scattered abroad the four corners of the earth. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the Bayath, the Dawada, the house of David, the tabernacle of David being risen up in these last days as the Most High's closing the breaches thereof, closing the doors of mercy, the predestined spirits of election, starting with the 144,000, 12,000 men of each tribe of Israel, the prophets, as well as the remaining 1/3 in Babylon the Great and the innumerable multitude scattered abroad. This is the brother Tazapanya, your brother Tazapanya of the GMS DC camp. Lord willing, Adawan Ratazah. This quick hit is edifying unto the elect. Who was the covenant made with? This is a quick milk topic. You know what I'm saying? Back to the basics. Who was the covenant made with, man? You know, because still to this day in 2024, with people having a supercomputer in the palm of their hands, whether it be Android or iPhone, all right, people have yet to fully understand the context of and the perspective, the audience that the Bible, the Holy Scriptures was written for. All right, and it was written for Israelites, man. Okay, when you go into the etymology of that word covenant, it is basically like a promise, an agreement, and it's synonymous with the word testament. All right, so like a testimony. Okay, so the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, the New Testament, or the renewed covenant, because when you go into that word new, it really means renewed. Okay, in Ecclesiastes it says there's nothing new under the sun. So ain't no oh, this is a brand new thing going on. Nah, it's just refurbished, put back in its original condition and brought to you as something, um, you know, made perfect, so to speak. All right. So who was the covenant made with? Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? And we're gonna go to Psalms chapter 50 and verse 5. Straight to the point. Psalms 50 and 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Okay? So remember, covenant is a promise or an agreement, but it is consummated, it is made official, legit, it's legitimized by sacrifice in the biblical sense. Okay? So we have to figure out who the saints are, because it's only the saints, according to Psalms 50 and 5, are the ones that made an agreement with him, a covenant with him, a testament with him. They have the testimony through the act of sacrifice. Okay? Now we figure out who the saints is when we go to the book of Psalms, chapter 148 and verse 14. It says, he also exalteth the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. A people near unto him, praise ye Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. You see? So the praise of all his saints, when it says even, when something is even, all right, it is equal. So the saints is the equal to the Israelites. So the Israelites are the saints. Okay, so the Israelites are the ones who made a covenant with him through sacrifice, pursuant to Psalms 50 and 5. All right. And again, to understand the mystery, you have to know the history. You have to know the history to understand the mystery. So the things written aforetime was written for our learning. So when we go into the second book, all right, of the Torah, book of Exodus, chapter 34 and 27, we get the first understanding of the covenant made by sacrifice by his saints, which we proved were the Israelites. This is Exodus chapter 34 and 27, and it reads, "And Yahweh said unto Moses, Write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with who? With thee, Moses, and with Israel." You see that? So the Most High made a covenant, an agreement with Moses and with Israel. And this is why when you go into it, where they sprinkled, right, the blood, all right, on the law and on the people, and they said all these things that was written we will do, okay? Because in we're not supposed to eat blood in food, because the life is in the blood thereof, as it says in the scriptures. And through blood shall make an atonement for sins be, roughly paraphrasing, okay? So sacrifice or blood is the physical receipt for a covenant, okay? This is why the Most High said he made a ransom with the out of the heathen nations. He put all the firstborn in Egypt to death to deliver the Israelites out of Egypt, right? He gave the law unto Moses for Moses to give unto the people, and he read out the law, and the people said, "Are you going to agree with this?" And they said, "We will do these things." And the Moses sacrificed animals, and with that blood, after their verbal confirmation, he sprinkled it on the law and on the people to establish the covenant. A woman is a virgin. Third example. All right. Her hymen is together. You have the act of sex, which goes into the word six, which means to cut. Your rod, through that somewhat violent, soft, violent act, all right, notice through the uncomfortability or the pain that the woman might feel, uh, cuts her hymen, and she bleeds to establish the covenant between her as a wife to now her husband. And then the ultimate covenant being when Yahweh Shai, right, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, who was the Lamb of Yahweh, showing you that it's the renewed covenant. It's not no new thing. This is why in the spirit he was a lamb, because it goes back to the Levitical law, even though this is under the pattern of the order of Melchizedek, Malak Tazadak, which was Yahweh Shai, if you can receive it. And with him being unblemished, spiritually meaning he didn't commit sin, which is transgression of the law, according to 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4, he sacrificed himself. He spilt blood for the atonement, all right, of the saints, which were the Israelites, but in a deeper sense, it was really of the elect of Israel, all right? So I just gave you 4 examples okay, of why sacrifice, covenant, and blood is intertwined, right? So now when we go to Romans chapter 9 and verse 4. Now this is in the New Testament. All right. So, oh, he made the covenant with all people. That's false. These wacky tacky anti-Christians, because that's what they are. They're adverse to the real anointed ones. All right. Because Christian goes back to the Greek word Christianos, all right, which in the Hebrew is Mashayakyam, all right, or Mashayak, which where we get the English word transliterated Messiah, which means anointed, all right, which means you're anointed with what? With oil. Oil is representative of what? The word. You see? So those that follow Yahweh Shai are anointed with this truth. And the truth is that he only made a covenant with the Israelites. He did not make a covenant with anybody else, because it says, gather them together, my saints, those that made a covenant with me through sacrifice. All right? And the only people on earth that was heading to Jerusalem 3 times out the year for certain high holy days were Israelites. The only people that was at the foot of Mount Sinai, which was a huge chariot, all right, whether you can receive it or not, a huge UFO. When Moses gave them the law, it was only the Israelites. No other nation was under there when Moses sprinkled the blood on the testimony of the law and on the people. Yahweh Shai died on the cross for no other people than the Israelites and shed his blood for no other people, because it was in the same spirit as of old that an animal of no blemish had to be sacrificed and blood had to be spilt for the atonement of sins. Let's go to Matthew 1 and 21, and then we'll go back. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 21, and it reads, and she shall bring forth a son. Who's she? Mary, the mother of Yahweh Shai. All right? And how does she bring forth a son? Because she got inseminated from her betrothed husband, Yahweh Joseph. They didn't go through the marriage feast where you would bring the community together and so on and so forth. So there wasn't no immaculate conception. Mary had sex with Joseph, and she brought forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahweh Shai, because the letter J was written, all right, in 1524 by a man named John Trissino, a Renaissance letter, an extension of the letter I that wasn't even fully pronounced until the early 1700s or something around there. And we all know that Yahweh Shai talked to Saul at that time in the book of Acts in the Hebrew tongue. So the angel, we know that the tongue, the language of the heavens is Hebrew. And thou shalt call his name Yahweh Shai, for he shall save his people from their sins. Who are Yahweh Shai's people? Yahweh Shai was of the root of David of the tribe of Judah. He was a Hebrew Israelite. Let's go now to Romans 9 and verse 4. Let's start at verse 3, because this is Paul talking to the Israelite foreigners that were scattered in Rome. Some of them knew who they were, others didn't know who they were. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. So people that he had family relations with, okay, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants. You see? So in the New Testament, you anti-Christians, because you're not real, because to qualify to be a Christian, you have to be an Israelite, because the only Israelites were the ones to follow Yahweh Shai. And they was first called Christianos in Antioch, which is in Syria, which was really a derogatory term, all right, in that day, you know, because people did not respect Yahweh Shai, right? Other than those that followed him, which were Israelites again. But the covenants was not made with everybody. It was only made for the Israelites. Okay? And that's the point. That's the point. So we're gonna go now to in the Apocrypha, which was in the original King James, the authorized version. All right, as you can see, it was in the Old Testament. This is Ecclesiasticus, chapter 45 and verse. Let's start at verse 1 to get context. And he brought out of him a merciful man, which found favor in the sight of all flesh, even Moses, beloved of Yahweh and men, whose memorial is blessed. He made him like to the glorious saints and magnified him, so that his enemies stood in fear of him. By his words, he caused the wonders to cease, and he made him glorious in the sight of kings, and gave him a commandment for his people. See, there you go again. The commandment was for his people. All right? So people want to talk about the 10 commandments when there's really 613 of them, but the point still stands. The commandments was given to his people. Who was Moses' people? The Israelites. Why? Moses was of the tribe of Levi. He was a Levite. Okay? Right now, in modern day time, that would be your so-called Haitian. Okay? It says, and showed him part of his glory. Right, because when he was on that chariot, the big-ass chariot, Mount Sinai, the Lord showed him a vision of a lot of things that's not even written in the scriptures, man. He's seen the end. You know, he's seen the kingdom, right? Verse 4, he sanctified him in his faithfulness and meekness, and chose him out of all men. He made him to hear his voice, and brought him into the dark cloud, you see, and gave him commandments before his face, even the law of life and knowledge, that he might teach Jacob his covenants and Israel his judgments. You see? So again, the covenants was only for the Israelites, point blank, period. It was not for anybody else. All right? These other nations, the Lord is not dealing with. Okay? He didn't make no covenant with them. All right? On the level of where they think that they're going to get in a rulership kingdom status. That's not going to happen, because he's made various covenants, right, throughout the scriptures. He made a covenant with Noah, right, where after he flooded the earth, he put a rainbow in the sky that he will never. And there's many descendants of Noah out here, right? He made a covenant with Abraham, all right, circumcision and having the land, so on and so forth, all right. But at the end of the day, it goes down to and only for the Israelites. All right. Let's see if I can find one more scripture regarding that. And then we're going to close it out. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 21, and verse 3. And it reads, and I, matter of fact, let me look and see. I got to, we're continuing on. Salakia. Revelation 21 and 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. Okay? So the men, all right, is I mean as well as men, women, and children of Israelites going to have, that new covenant. But as far as that order that is established, we all know the men is going to be on top, all right, under the in the 144,000, under the 12 apostles, Peter or David, same person in the reincarnation, being the top man, all right, under Yahweh Shai. Okay, and this is going to be after the world, not the world, Salakia, America is destroyed by them ICBM missiles. Okay, and that new heaven and new earth, a new rulership. Heaven is is symbolic for rulership, and the earth is going to be renewed. All right, as we put these heathen nations into slavery and putting them in perpetual employment. All right, to rebuild this thing after Esau, and the rest of these nations have been destroying Idan, Eden, paradise. You know, um, and when the elect come down from the fathership after being beamed up and not being killed from the wrath of God, the lake of fire, America in the aerial view being completely destroyed by the missiles in World War III. All right, that is when we're going to fully be the Lord's people, because now we're saying, you are our power, because we're in full connection with him, because he downloaded the law into the new bodies that the elect is going to get, and those that are born of the elect, Israelites. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to make it too long. The covenant was made with Israel, man. So call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. On to the next one. Shalom.